applause. And so as you all know, if you've come to our symposiums before, every year we start off with a bit of a documentary. And the goal of this video is to really give us a couple of tidbits from key leaders across each sector and across the folks doing this work about how they're feeling and what's happening in this current landscape. So we invite you all to enjoy the video. Please sit back, relax, and watch.
I am Francois Paul. I am 40 years old. I am a family man, and I am an accountant and a designer.
My name is Francisca Etienne. I'm in my 30s, and I was diagnosed with cancer towards the end of 2017. In 2023, the cancer had unfortunately become metastatic, and at that point, I was making every attempt to perhaps either leave Haiti or travel.
The country for me, it was the best choice at that moment because my wife is very ill. My wife is living with a cancer, which I wouldn't wish upon anyone else.
I am forced to confront the follow-up of a treatment, and my medical follow-up is one of my biggest stresses. And then as a mother, now I've become afraid to die.
It is because of families like these that we continue to fight. When families have nowhere to turn, we have a responsibility to be the voice for the voiceless, the bridge for those navigating uncertainties, the advocate for those feeling powerless, and a guiding force for those charting a path forward.
Welcome to our 2026 Symposium, charting the path forward through our collective strength and power. Yes, together we are powerful. Together we are stronger. Throughout the day, we will be wrestling with some questions. What are the challenges that we are facing in the immigrant communities as of today? What is working? What is not working? And the big one that I really like a lot is what gives us hope. That's what we're going to be discussing, through the different breakout sessions, through the conversation that we have. But before that, let's listen to some of our advocates looking at the big picture in terms of what they see on the ground. What is the biggest challenge that we see today that immigrant communities are facing?
This past year has been one of the most challenging years for immigrant communities in the U.S. For as long as I've been doing this work. This federal administration has made so many painful and punitive decisions that have affected our communities in so many ways.
A large numbers of arrests by ICE officers who are increasingly arresting people in violation of their Fourth Amendment and their due process rights. More of these things are happening on video. That combined with a series of policies and efforts and commercials have essentially terrorized a large number, I believe it's around 2 million immigrants into self-deportation.
Sustaining their jobs and their livelihoods. So many of the legal statuses that our immigrants have, especially our Haitian immigrants, are being terminated unlawfully by this federal administration.
There's a term in psychology we call generational trauma. And my concern is that what's happening now, there's going to be this really extensive generational trauma for incoming immigrants.
Well, the first thing is the impact on daily life and behavior. People in survival mode. Everyone is in a fight, flight, or freeze, interpreting neutral situations as threats.
What is working well?
Things that are working well here in the city of Boston is that we have an electorate, elected officials, like the mayor, like myself, like so many members on the city council who care deeply about our immigrant communities, who understand what they contribute to our city. And so we are doing everything we can to stand in solidarity with our immigrant communities. I was just happy to usher along $4.4 million in dedicated funds to help with emergency assistance, well-being, legal resources by bringing the United Way, the Boston Foundation, the Bar Foundation together to really answer the urgency of this moment.
Rapid, coordinated, immediate responses. We have a habeas project where we partner up a federal litigator with an immigration attorney, and they are actually able to file a petition in federal court, sometimes within an hour of an immigrant's arrest. And that's because we are a well-oiled machine in responding.
Is to provide accurate information and particularly to give out and train people on their rights so that people understand what rights they do have. Even though this administration seems intent on taking away so many rights, the reality is that we do still have rights, and it's been important for people to know their rights and be able to exercise them as much as possible.
Collaboration is essential, and I think that's one of the important facets that MIC has brought, plus this idea of a holistic approach, which is IFSI's approach, so legal, workforce, financial assistance, that what really works is this wraparound support for immigrants.
It's the fact we're talking about it. There is more and more awareness, and there is the resiliency, not only in the people providing the service, but also in the people receiving, the service.
The mental health needs are significant right now, given all of the stress, all of the anxiety, all of the changing policies. We are desperately in need of coordinated efforts around mental health support to ensure that people have access to services, to resources that are culturally and linguistically affirming, so that people can talk about their experiences in their native language with providers that understand their cultural backgrounds and their needs.
What is not working?
There's a great need for legal representation and legal services, but we just don't have, enough resources, to do that.
It's disorganization. When different organizations are all called to do the same thing at the same time, it becomes difficult because we're doing the one thing that we promised ourselves we wouldn't do at the start of this second administration of Trump, which is reinventing the wheel.
It's been so challenging because the pace of change has been so intense that sometimes we're all just scrambling to keep up with everything that's happening.
The recent data from 2025-2026 shows that Boston mental health landscape is marked by high demand, workforce shortages, and initiatives to improve access for marginalized groups. Youth mental health crisis. Nearly 2 in 5 Boston high school students feel sad or hopeless. A 2026 study, early January came out, found nearly 25% of children needed mental health care or not receiving it, especially in single-parent families.
Resources. There's never enough resources. Just 2 days ago, someone walked into my office crying with his child whose wife had been disappeared by ICE to Colorado and who is now behind on rent. And we, luckily were able to find a source of funding to help him pay his rent arrearage. But these are the very real challenges that we face every day.
What do cities see on the ground with immigrants, and how can they help?
Pregnant women aren't going to the hospital if they feel like their immigration status is in jeopardy. We have our kids, some of whom are not going to school. We see a declining, we see immigrant parents not wanting to send their children far away. So we see declining enrollment in some of our schools that may be further away from where students usually go. We see an impact on our economy and the healthcare industry. We talk to residents all the time, and we can feel and hear the fear, and it's very palpable.
When an immigrant goes into immigration court, they don't have the right to a paid government attorney in the same way you do in criminal court. At the Mirror Coalition, we believe strongly that everyone should have the right to counsel that can help them through their immigration court proceeding. And because of that, we've been advocating at the State House for public funding for immigration legal services funding.
What gives you hope?
Immigrants themselves always give me hope. This is a community that is incredibly resilient. They have faced some of the most harrowing, horrific conditions in their home countries, and even more terrifying conditions in their attempts to get here. They, along with people like Dr. Gabot, the protesters in Minnesota, there are heroes that are standing up for what is right now, despite the fact that they could be facing adversity for doing so.
Oh, we know our worth. We know the impact that we have in this country, and we know the gifts, the talents, all that we bring, all that makes us strong. And so really tapping into that and knowing that when we put our hands together, that we achieve the impossible.
I find hope every day from our communities, from how much resilience people have. When we come together and work together, there is so much power and strength in community.
My hope is in community, and my hope is in our collective power and our collective ability to advocate, our people power, because there's nothing that can stop this rogue administration except for us.
Our hope for supporting immigrant communities originates always from the resilience of the newcomers, the expansion of grassroots, immigrant-led organizations, widespread community-led solidarities, increased access to legal aid, targeted career, mentoring to support integration, and local advocacy initiatives, opposing restrictive policies. All those things contribute to give me great poise with regard to the situation that we are living in today.
It's a big question, and I have to admit that even myself, as I'm looking to whatever that is happening around me, I started to lose hope. I started to fall into despair because it was too much for me to handle. But as soon as I realized that I didn't have this option, so I started to see things differently. And what gives me hope is what I choose to see that is going on around me. Because when I look, I see solidarity. I see love in action. I see people mobilizing. I see individuals across this country, left and right, standing up, speaking out, and advocating for our immigrant communities. Yes, I see communities choosing to respond with courage, with compassion, and with collective action. Even in the midst of adversity, even when it means to give one's life. To me, there is nothing more powerful than that. And that gives me a lot of hope. So this is an opportunity for us to say loud and clear that never, never again will we go back to lose what we have fought so hard for. This is a moment for us to strengthen our advocacy, our collaborative effort, and to say that, yes, we shall move forward through our collective strength and power. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, thank you. Good morning. We want to thank each and every one of you for taking the time out of your precious, busy schedule to be with us today. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. We would like to thank the numerous institutions and organizations that make this day possible. Is Boston Medical Center in the house? William James College? Miracle Coalition, LCR, JALSA, IAMS Foundation, Save Souls, MOCC, Maple Center, JVS, Make Massachusetts Immigrant Collaborative is here, IGDH. Thank you. I'm going to miss some, but thank you for being here with us. I would like you to stand with me because you're going to be sitting for a few minutes. Please stand. I was about to pray and ask God for his blessings upon us. Heavenly Father, we come before you today with grateful hearts, recognizing that every good and perfect gift comes from you. We thank you for the privilege of gathering at this Immigrant Family Services Institute Symposium, a space of vision, compassion, and transformation. Lord, we lift up with deep gratitude your servant, Dr. Joel Gabo. We thank you for the calling you have placed upon her. We appreciate her courage, faith, and commitment to uplift immigrant families, especially the Haitian community. Continue to strengthen her, guide her, and expand the impact of her work. We thank you for the dedicated staff of IFSI, those who serve daily with compassion, excellence, and perseverance. Bless their efforts, renew their strength, and remind them that their service is meaningful. We thank you for the allies, partners, and friends who stand in solidarity, those who choose justice over indifference, love and courage over fear, and action over silence. May their collaboration continue to bear fruit for future generations. Lord, we especially lift up the Haitian community, resilient, faithful, and full of dignity. Be their peace during times of uncertainty. Be their strength during struggles. And in every season, remind them they are seen, valued, and deeply loved. Father, bless this gathering. As many people address you by many names, I pray through your precious Son name, Jesus Christ, and the people of God respond to amen. Thank you. You may be seated. Now, help me welcome Mr. Jennifer.
Pastor Kiki, if you wanted to be the MC, you should have just said that. I feel like he's challenging me. And clearly winning. But anyway, again, we want to welcome everyone to the Charting the Path Forward Symposium. Throughout the next couple of hours, we will routinely make it a point to thank all of the people who have made it possible for us to be here today. There are so many people who continue to support our organization and are supporting this symposium today. And just to name a couple, as Pastor Kiki has started, the IAMS Foundation, Atrius Foundation, Mass General Brigham, Boston Foundation, and the Barr Foundation, just to name a few, all of whom have made it possible for us to be here together to talk about what it means to chart the path forward through our collective power. So before we get started, one of the things we like to do is please do not expect that you will be coming here today to sit and be spoken to and lectured to. That is not the goal of the symposium. This is going to be an interactive session, and we want to hear from you and get information from you, which is why you have notepads in front of you, sticky notes for activities. So we're actually going to kick off with a quick temperature check before we invite our panelists to come forward. Mr. Pierre, would you mind pulling up the Mentimeter poll? How many folks are familiar with Mentimeter? Hands? Okay, so I don't even have to do the instructions. This is awesome. Anyway, so you have two ways that you can do this, but you can go to Mentimeter.com and you will see that there is a code at the top. So you're going to go to Mentimeter.com and then you are going to type in that code. The code is 8. Again, that's 86710228. Okay, wonderful.
the QR code for the next Mentimeter, I'll make sure that there's the QR code up so that folks can just scan it with their phone. But as I said, what we want to do first is we want to take a quick temperature check. So next slide, Mr. Pierre. So a quick temp check. If you had to describe yourself as a weather pattern, what would it be? If you had to describe yourself as a weather pattern, what would that be today? Okay, light rain, breezy, partly sunny. We have some partly cloudy. Ooh, 85 degrees. Who is feeling like summer? Please raise your hand. Okay, I see you. Okay, tornado. I can feel that. I feel tornado-y too a little bit. Okay, a lot of breezy, a lot of sunny, fluffy clouds. Okay, there's an overcast with a hint of sun. That got really specific, and I love that for us. Sunny with some fog, partly sunny. Okay. Yeah, so keep them coming, keep them coming. So as you all know, in Mentimeter, typically what happens is whenever you have words that come up very often, they appear a lot bigger. And so what we can see is there's so many people feeling sunny, partly cloudy. And the reason why we wanted to start with this in particular is because I don't want to be able to interpret how you're feeling. That's not the goal. I think it's about taking what we are feeling and how do we channel that into what we will use today during this symposium. So thank you all so much for sharing. And now I'm going to turn it over to our wonderful CEO, Dr. Gabo, who is going to introduce our panel members. So if our panelists for the first half hour can just join us very quickly at the front.
Thank you, Jennifer. And again, welcome. It is, one of the favorite time of the year for us as an organization to really bring, all of the sectors together as a way for us to not only, get together, enjoy each other's company, but also to do what we are called to do. So, as you know, the reason why you are here when you could have been in the sunny sky in Florida or wherever else, is because we all are called to serve. In whatever capacity, we are called to serve. And because of that, we have to come together and to wrestle with difficult questions, all right? And to think about exactly what gives us hope. Because once we know what gives us hope, we know what to do to get to that point. So this work is never a one-person job. It is a collective effort. So we have people in different sectors who are here today and who are going to share with us some of the, not only the challenges that they see, but what exactly we are working toward so that we can see that hope becoming a reality. So again, we have Brian from IDGH, we have Woni from ORI, we have Frank from the Mass Immigrant Collaborative. Where is Liz? Is Liz here? Yes, Liz, come forward, Liz. We have Liz from, Liz has been so busy. I was worried. I'm like, can she make it today? Because this past 2 weeks, I'm telling you, on the ground, non-stop, fighting. And yesterday was a long day. Yesterday or the day before, a long day for the MIRA Coalition. So again, we have different sectors who are coming, and we're going to keep, because again, you have time to be with them in the different breakout sections. We're going to give them a very short window of time to present to us what they are working on, what they are seeing on the ground, and then we will be, going together to the breakout room to discuss this further. So I will get Woni first, and then right after Woni, we will get Brian, and then to give time to Dr. Simon to come. Let's welcome Woni Miller from ORI.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gabot, and good morning, everyone. Ronnie Miller from the Office for Refugees and Immigrants. I'm here today on behalf of our Executive Director, Christina Aguilera, and Susan Church, who are not able to be here. They're speaking at a Ways and Means Committee. Delighted to be with two of my colleagues from the office. We've got Abigail Pierre-Charles and Gladys Ortiz, and some colleagues also from the Department of Health. So I'm going to just take a few minutes, give a quick sort of update on some of our programs and services, and I'm really looking forward to being with you all today. It is St. Patrick's Week, okay, so I think that I want to give a wee shout out to the... But the Irish have an old saying that says it is in the shelter of each other that the people live. It is in the shelter of each other that the people live. And we heard Frank say in the video how important that collaboration and working together and partnership really is. And it is so meaningful and brilliant to be with you all today in partnership. The Office for Refugees and Immigrants, our mission, second here. That's okay, if we don't need them, that's okay. So our mission is to empower all immigrants and refugees to access the resources and support and to ensure that they are fully included in the economic and social fabric of the Commonwealth. We do this by partnering with resettlement agencies, community-based organizations, and other state agencies. We offer a number of federally funded support programs and state-funded programs. You're going to have to keep up with me here, okay? So, so our federally funded programs include case management, direct assistance, education, employment, and citizenship and financial literacy. I want to make a real sort of call out. One of the things that Governor Healy did when she was first elected was really looked at the office and said, we really need to support all immigrants. We supported a lot with refugees, but let's really invest in the immigrant community in Massachusetts. So there's been a tremendous investment, especially with all of the emergency assistance programs over the past 2 or 3 years. We partner with IFSI in running the Family Welcome Center, and Jennifer, Gnarly, Gladys, and so many others are working 24/7 to ensure that no families are left on the streets at night. So let's give IFSI a big round of applause. Other state-funded programs include the Immigration Legal Services, Communication Education. I'm going to talk a wee bit about the executive order that was just announced, and then, as you know, ESOL and workforce support for EA-eligible families. We all know and love Susan Church, and Susan has been a tremendous leader in this community, the right person at the right time to be the governor's legal advisor on all things immigration. Susan really took the initiative and worked with the legislator, worked with our community partners to launch really 4 important programs. The Macy program that in partnership with MIRA that supports immigrants who are facing immigration court proceedings regardless of their detention status. The Legal Representation Fund in partnership with Bijan to provide free legal representation to detained immigrants. And then we heard Heather talk about the Habeas Project, which is really amazing. We have like over 300 attorneys that are providing emergency habeas applications. And then there's the help desk for EA-eligible families, families that are maybe in shelter or living in home-based funded support apartments. The Community Support Initiative, when the governor, when the new administration, when Trump was elected, the governor really called upon our office to really get out into the community to support community-based organizations and directly families who are impacted by enforcement and all of the changing policies. We launched this Community Support Initiative and went across the Commonwealth at the invitation of local community-based organizations and went with pro bono attorneys, immigration attorneys, probate and family attorneys. We met with over 2,000 families, 20 different communities, And that initiative is still, we've got like 6 or 7 meetings in the next 6 or 7 weeks of just coming out. And again, this is the office like getting right out into the community in support of families, providing legal assistance, health and well-being, and additional community resources. We invite some of our state agencies in these meetings, Department of Transitional Assistance, Department of Health, so many other agencies will customize the agenda with you and try to come alongside families that are impacted. We also launched an online resource toolkit, which has really got up-to-date information, and I encourage you to check that out. And if again, under Susan's leadership, we've done a series of Know Your Rights presentations. I forget how many sort of thousands of people that that Susan has been presenting to, with schools, advocacy groups, employers, and shelters, and also we ran a volunteer matching initiative where people kept saying, "What can we do? What can we do?" And we invited a bunch of community-based organizations to meet potential volunteers. We all know that recently the governor signed an executive order that is really exciting, and it really is really bold, and our office is supporting that. There's encourage you to really look at it. It prohibits warrantless civil immigration arrests in state facilities, prohibits the use of federal agents using state properties for staging. So when ICE are making several arrests, they've been using car parks and so forth. We're now able to, there's a hotline that we're launched this week that the public can call, and we get involved with DCAM and are able to immediately respond to that. And also then prohibits any new 287G arrangements. We all may know that this portal was launched this week also to report any sort of federal agent misconducts, right? And those, we launched it earlier in the week. There have been hundreds, many of them are scam and stuff, but there's some starting to see, and our office will be looking for patterns, flagging the governor on different patterns, and also constantly informing policy changes. Finally, just to say, like every Wednesday at noon, many of you are part of this, ORI hosts a community conversations forum. And this is our opportunity to hear from you what's really important in the community. We then are directly informing the governor's office around policy changes, and also sharing the most up-to-date information that we're hearing from other states and what's going on. And really encourage you to attend that and to be part of. We've nearly 200 participants most weeks, and it's a really great sort of opportunity to be together with. And again, we often have state agencies. There's so many policy changes, so we invite speakers from DTA, Mass Health, HLC, and so forth. So that's really, I just want to appreciate, and we are so grateful for IFSI's partnership, for Dr. Gabo's leadership, and we just really are honored to be with you here today. Thank you.
All right. So can we say thank you, Woni? Because we want you to remember the names today as you leave. So thank you, Woni. Thank you. So many of us are with Woni on a weekly basis, but we know not everyone is on the call. So we just wanted to make sure that you understand what's going on right now and who is doing what. Quickly, we're going to turn to Brian because we are working on something very, very important. Brian, so I don't want to give any kind of, leeway, but I want you to come and talk about it. All right, thank you, Brian. Let's say welcome, Brian!
Thank you, Dr. Gabo. Bonjour tout le monde. Bonjour. Yeah. Good morning, everybody. It's an honor to be here. I'm deeply grateful to IFSI for bringing us all together for this very important task of charting the way forward, and grateful to everybody who's joining this important discussion and supporting it. I'll talk a little bit about, I'm with the Institute for Justice and Democracy in Haiti. I'd like to talk a very little bit about what we do and how it might fit into other people's work, and then like to follow directions and say what's been done, what needs to be done, and what gives us hope. In terms of Institute for Justice and Democracy, we go by the acronym IJDH. We work in both Haiti and the U.S. In Haiti, we work through our sister organization. It's called the Bureau des Avocats Internationaux, that tries to establish a fair justice system and a democratic governance in Haiti. In the U.S., we work on both trying to get U.S. policies that promote justice and democracy in Haiti, which we've been far from wildly successful lately. And we also work for fair treatment of Haitians in the U.S. In terms of what's been done, I think it's very important. It's easy to see the challenges ahead of us, but I think it's of course important to confront those. But I think we also need to acknowledge where our successes have been. And when we were here last year, the administration had announced that it was going to terminate Haitian TPS on August 2nd, 2025. That was 229 days ago, and TPS for Haitians is still in effect. Yeah. Now, that happened because some Haitian American organizations, including Haitian Americans United in Boston, including the Haitian Evangelical Clergy's Association in New York, and some incredibly courageous Haitian TPS holders stood up. And just think about, you're a TPS holder, extremely vulnerable, and you put your name on a complaint against Donald Trump. I mean, that just took, incredible courage and persistence and a desire to help everybody else out. And, along with the legal team, and we're part of that, and there's been a couple different lawsuits have been filed, so a bunch of legal teams stepping up. There's been a series of injunctions that have prevented TPS from getting extended. And just a little bit about what's at stake with that. There's 350,000 people, Haitians with TPS in the United States. 200,000 of them are working. And so the second that TPS is terminated, all of those 200,000 are going to lose their work authorization, will no longer be able to work legally. And then all 350,000 people are subject to the deportation machine. And we got an incredibly sad and outrageous reminder of what that means with the death last month of Emmanuel Damas. And if people haven't seen it, Rusi wrote a stirring, compelling, but very sad op-ed in today's Boston Globe that I'd encourage you to read. So in terms of so we've gotten this far. Unfortunately, I don't think we can count on the courts standing up for Haitian TPS holders after the end of June. Every court so far that has heard it, whether it's been a Republican-appointed judge or Democratic-appointed judge, made what was to them an easy decision to say termination was illegal and it's unconstitutionally motivated by racism. The problem is this case is headed to a court that is not a fair court, the Supreme Court, which has been giving the administration what it wants. On Monday, the Supreme Court said they're going to take the Haiti TPS case. The hearing we expect is going to be on April 28th, and the decision is likely to come out at the end of June, early July, and it's not likely to be consistent with 200 years of U.S. precedent that allows courts to intervene in these matters. And it's basically going to say, it's not going to say, yes, Haiti's safe to return. It's going to say courts don't have the right to look at whether the administration is using an improper process to arrive at that conclusion. And so what we've got now is, I think the lawyers have done almost as much as, they're going to keep fighting through April, but I think they've done about as much as that's going to work. We need the next strategy, which comes to the next part of, is what is there to do. So, we saw this coming, and so, we worked with lots of us, especially, IFSI's been a big leader in this. We worked with members of Congress and Representative Ayanna Pressley from Boston. She stepped up and she filed what's called a discharge petition. And a discharge petition allows the House of Representatives to have a vote on something that the leadership doesn't want. And in this case, with Representative Presley's, it's a vote on extending Haitian TPS for 3 years. The Republican leadership of the House doesn't want that vote. They will not schedule it, but we're going to make that happen. The discharge petition, as of last night, we got more signatures yesterday. It has 199 signatures. We only need 218. Yep. Yep. There's another Republican that has agreed to sign on who hasn't, and if he does, then we can get to 218 with just Democrats. So this is really doable. And the way that this happened is it's self-inspiring. It happened because people made calls. IFSI sent out action alerts. Ruthie's been calling people. Ula Cafe and Marvin Matelier have been organizing phone banks. IJDH helped organize the Ula Cafe ones. We've been having calls and calls and calls. Literally thousands of calls have been made to get us to 119. And that brings us to what needs to be done. We need thousands more calls. And so I would encourage everybody, if you're connected with IFSI, they're sending out action alerts. IJDH is too. You can talk to me. You can talk to my colleague, Cecilia. Cecilia, you want to raise your hand? She's been organizing the calls. Thank you, Cecilia. And we're happy to tell you how you can get involved and get on your list. We make it easy. Rusi actually made a really fun Instagram video about how easy it is. And we'll give you everything you need to do to make those calls. And I just think, what gives me hope? One thing that gives me hope is the polling in the United States has changed precipitously over immigration. For the last couple of years, it's been strongly in support of deporting as many people as possible. That has changed. Part of it has been the abuses in Minneapolis, but part of it has been Americans who were supporting the deportation when they believed it was some mythical criminal. They're realizing that it's their neighbors, it's their caregivers, it's people in their church, it's people at their job, and that is changing American public opinion, making it going from something that the administration got political credit for doing to something that's now a problem. And in fact, last week, the administration met with members of Congress and said, we're not talking about immigration enforcement because it's polling bad. That's a sign of hope. Another sign of hope is this discharge petition. Discharge petitions have been very rarely used in the U.S. throughout our history because it's very hard to do. There's never, ever been a discharge petition that was driven by the grassroots until now. We're 19 votes away from making the first ever discharge petition that was driven by grassroots, and we just got to keep going till we get there. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. And talking about this discharge petition, just so you know, every single expert that we call on that discharge petition, when they look at what we've been able to do together, starting, I think in January, early January, to now, everyone is like, oh, wow, I have never seen anything like this. Which means that, guys, we are making history by calling every day to make sure that they understand our immigrants have rights. You cannot violate, their rights the way that you do. So we will be putting for you the link after this presentation. We'll put the link for you for the discharge petition. In case you don't know, the idea is that there is a phone number that you need to call, the dashboard of the U.S. House representatives, right? And you ask to speak to so-and-so. And we have a list of people for us to call. And we're going to put the list so that when you go home, just not only you call people in their district that you know, and you tell them, please call, because by next week, we really want to get to that 218 signatures, because again, we have April 27, 28. So if we can get it before that, you never know. So again, that's part of what we do in terms of our collective effort to make sure that we can fight for our immigrants. So Brian said something very important that I really want to bring back to you. So whenever we're talking about policies, right? So often it's hard for us to put a face on those policies because we're thinking about policies in terms of letters, words, email, notes, so we think about those things. But when you put a face on those policies, guess what? You understand them better and you know what to do about them. So that's the reason why today we chose to bring faces to you in terms of what is happening with ICE. So Brian mentioned Emmanuel Damas. We have the two brothers who are here with us that we are asking to come forward, Presnell and Presley. Come in, come on, come on. Yes, come on, yes. Yes, it's okay to stand because they have been very courageous. Every day they are on the news. Every day they're talking to reporters about what happened to their brother. What happened to their brother because of ICE lawlessness. So again, thank you. We wanted to bring them to you. You can have a seat. Because again, when those things are happening in the news, they feel so distant that you cannot, grasp them. But when they come close to home, it's a different story. So again, I know that it's a busy week for you guys. You've been all around, but we wanted to make sure that you are here. And you can see the picture of Emmanuel Damas and Presner and Presley. As you can see, if you look at them, you cannot recognize them because they are twin brothers. Yeah, they will give us just a glimpse about what happened and what they hope to see because of what happened. So who wants to be first? Okay.
Sure.
Yeah. What's the first out? Oh, all right. It's the big brother. By how many seconds? 2 seconds. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gabo. I think it was 5 minutes, actually. I wish to thank everyone here for the great work that you are doing. Dr. Gabo, with IFSI and all the organizations. Brian, thank you for an amazing work. And for the governor's office, everyone who put their hands on deck to make sure we can make it much more challenging to the administration. I want to thank you on behalf of our people. So I'll give you a little history, then I have a few words I actually wrote down, and I'll share them with you. My brother, when the previous administration actually started with the humanitarian parole, so I applied for him, and so he could come here. He had no desire on coming here because he was fine and he was getting older. At that time, he was 54 years old. So my mom is older, so it's a small family, and it was her dream that all of us could be reunited as a family. So it was a dream when he actually came on February 19, 2024, to actually be here with all of us. That was his first chance to actually meet his nephews and nieces. So it was a good party. It was a good time. Little less about last September, about September 14, we had a small gathering at our house. I'll make it very short. A small gathering at our house, and he had a few little to drink, and we left him at the house with his son. Actually, his 2 children came with him as well. The youngest one is at that time was 12 years old. He's very petite. So a neighbor called 911 for a wellness check because he was just pacing around because his father was drunk and laying down on his bed. So the police officers arrived and they knocked on the door, and he came out, and he said his mother, talking about our mother, was not home, but she was going to be home fairly soon, about 10 minutes. One thing I wanted to highlight in this situation is, as we talk about immigrants, we have to understand also the cultural differences, which is really important. And we also have to respect the American culture as well. So police came, and my mom arrived. Then they talked for a few moments, and they realized the kids is safe. They were about to they were actually leaving the house. he was under the impression that his son had called on the police on him. So he got a little upset and he went and he tried to shove him. And that's when he got arrested by the police. He was not hurt. He actually didn't even touch him, according to his son, because I was not there. Long story short, he was arrested by BPD, and they took him to the Nashua prison, and a few hours later, he was picked up by ICE. And that was the beginning of a nightmare. And from being to Boston, he sent him to Buffalo, New York, then to Arizona, and that was the last time we actually saw him. So that has been very, very tough, very difficult for our families, but I have a few words that I want to share with all of you. I stand before you with a heavy heart, yet an unshaken spirit. My family is living through a painful chapter, the wrongful death of my brother Emmanuel Damas while in ICE custody. His life mattered, his voice mattered, and his story, though marked by tragedy, must not be silenced. But even in this darkness, I refuse to let despair have the final word. As we walk to the valley of death, we shall have no fear. As we walk to the valley of ignorance, xenophobia, we shall have no fear. Because I have seen another side of America. I have lived the American experience myself, not as an idea, but as a reality. In my personal journey and in my personal life, I have encountered compassion, opportunity, and people of conscience who believe deeply in justice, in human dignity. The sun always rises in the morning, even though the cloud may block its sight at times. Yes, these are difficult times for my family, for our societies, for our communities. We are witnessing division, fear, and pain. But we are also witnessing courage, solidarity, and the enduring power of community that's happening right here. Hope is not naive, it is necessary. Love is not weak, it is transformative. And peace is not passive, it is something we must actively build together. Let my brother's memory, Emmanuel Damas, remind us of what is at stake. Let it call us not to anger alone, but to purpose, to advocate, to reform, to protect the humanity of every person, regardless of where they come from or how they arrived. I still believe in this nation. This is a great nation. I still believe in its people. And I believe that even in our darkest moments, we can choose light. Let us choose hope. Let us choose love. Let us choose peace. Thank you.
Bonjour tout le monde. Good morning, everyone. My name is Prisner Nelson. It's always hard to talk after him. I don't think I'll be able to get to his level, but I'm gonna try. 25 years ago, I came to this country with one thing in mind, in search of a better life. It was not easy. I didn't know any English at that time, none whatsoever. But one thing I understood, I needed to go to school, which is what I did. My brother and I, we went to school, educate ourselves, learn English, and we started working for corporate America. But we quickly realized that what we are trying to achieve, we won't be able to achieve it by working for corporate America. So we decided to create our own company. So my brother and I, we have a small transportation company where we're providing transportation, medical transportation, school transportation throughout the entire community. And we are investing in real estate as well, where we understand how hard it is for people to get a place to live. So, which is what we are doing, and we have quite of contracts with home base where we are providing a place for people to stay and live. So with all that in mind, we wanted our brother, Emmanuel Damas, to have the same chance as well, which is why Presley filed an application for him to come. When he came here, it was the best thing ever. We were happy, we were excited. It was a chance for him to meet all of his nephews and nieces. We had such a wonderful time. But unfortunately, it didn't last too long for him. The question is, why it didn't last too long? As I always said, this is 2026. This is not 17 or 1800, where a toothache will kill someone. We are not talking about a brain surgery or liver transplant or heart transplant. We're talking about someone being incarcerated, asking for help for 2 weeks. He's in pain. Last night, I received a letter from a friend of his who was there in the correctional center, explained how hard his last day were. It was not easy. It was really painful. To the point, I'm asking myself, did we make the right decision by having him to come here? I can guarantee you, thank you, Dr. Gabo. I can guarantee you, if he was back home in Haiti, he could have been here. As much as things is bad back home, but it's not bad to the point where they cannot take care of a toothache. What happened with human decency? What happened with compassion, with love? All of a sudden, it seems like it's slipping away from us. It seems like we are becoming heartless people, where we don't care about each other anymore. All life matters. Hispanic life mattered. Asian life mattered. Haitian life mattered. We are people. We are all were created by just one God. Last time I checked, we have the same blood running into our veins. I always tell people, it's like I'm having a big feast for Thanksgiving dinner. We are having a good time. Then someone knock on my door asking for food. Instead of giving that person a plate of food, I shut the door on that person. When everyone is leaving, then I'm looking at that person dying because of some food. This is the same thing where there's plenty of dentists around Florence, Arizona, who could have taken care of that toothache. I want to thank each and every one of you here for the hard work that we are doing. You are making a difference in people's life. It has not been easy. I hope that my brother Emmanuel Clifford Damas is the last person. No one else, no other family will have to go through what we are going through. 82 years old mother, grieving, mourning, about to bury a 56 years old. I don't know how much longer she has to live on this earth, but one thing is for sure, it's not gonna be an easy road for her to recover. So Dr. Gabo, Councilwoman Uzi Louis-Jeune, and each and everyone else who've been here for our family, we want to thank each and every one of you. It has not been easy, but thank God you make it a little, just a little easy on us. I thank you, each and every one of you. Thank you.
I know. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, President. Thank you, President. It takes courage. It takes courage for them to stand here and to share those stories with you. And I have to say that we, as providers who are on the ground every day, meeting with families, when we say that policies do have impact, we see it every day. When the mom calls us and said, my son has been taken, and I don't even know where my son is, those things touch you deeply. When the husband said, my wife has been taken, those things are very close to all of us. Because all of us, we are a mother, we are a sister, we are a brother, we are a cousin. You see me? And to see that this guy came here legally, I mean, he did not violate any law. He came, in fact, you heard, he came on a 2-year visa. He was not even, he came on February 2024. So by the time they arrested him, he was here for probably a year and a few months. And then for us to say as a country that we welcome immigrants, and for that immigrant to finally make it here legally, and for him to die. And the sad thing when the brothers shared that with us, when Woodsie and I, we went to visit the family, he said, one thing that really, broke the mom's heart was to see her son in a coma for 7 days with all of those chains holding both his hands and his feet on the bed. You are on a coma, right? Why are you handcuffed? Why are your feet chained to the bed? And on top of that, 2 officers were guarding the door where he was. So they could spend money to have 24/7, surveillance for someone who needed only, help for a toothache. That's what we are living right now today, guys. And we need to be very aware of the ugliness that is going on around us. And that's the reason why when we come together, we don't come together just for the fun of it, but we come together for us, to gather our strength, to gather our collective power, and to say, enough is enough. We cannot tolerate those things. Under this, we cannot. So the other day we had a vigil for Emmanuel Damas before near the city of Boston. So next Saturday, the 28th, they're going to have a memorial service as a way for all of us to come together to honor the life of Emmanuel Damas. And the mom said, you know what? After all of those years that he finally made it here, and they show basically to him that he did not belong, he was not welcome. So the mom decided that, you know what, I will take my son back to Haiti. That's where I'm going to bury my son. So the family, we are so grateful to the Lucy network, especially the Dorchester one, because Emmanuel used to live in Dorchester. They put together a fundraiser page to help the family, you know, getting the body from Arizona to Boston, doing that memorial, and then bringing the body to Haiti for the final burial. And at the same time, they are, you know, trying to hire a lawyer to represent the families, because again, whatever that needs to know, people need to understand they cannot treat people like this. So again, we will put, I think the link, is it the link? We will put the link for all of us to support the fundraiser effort, because again, so much needs to happen. So I know that the mayor was really trying to be there with you guys, but you know, with the scheduling, maybe she might stop by at some point, but you know, she wanted her staff. Do you want to stand? Yeah, they're here, you know, sharing, you know, all of the concerns, the condolences, and everything, you know, that she would have said to you today. But again, thank you so much for your courage. Thank you for the fight that you are leading, because both of them said, I don't care if it's a Trump administration where whenever you speak up, they are after you. They don't care, because they said they don't want any other families to go through the same thing. So we appreciate you. We appreciate your courage. Thank you. All right. All right. Whew. Heavy, eh? Yeah, heavy. I know. So at this time, I'm going to bring Liz, and that's the reason why we do the work that we do. That's the reason why we have to fight. That's the reason why we have to always be looking at the policies that have been enacted to see what we can or cannot do. So Liz Sweet for Mira Coalition, we know Mira is at the forefront for legal services and for all the fight. You have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gabo. Wow. I just want to personally say to Emmanuel's family, I think we're all just feeling so much for you right now, and so appreciate you sharing your story. You know, personally, I actually started my immigration legal career representing people in immigration detention and in Arizona specifically, and it's the abuses and true indignity that I saw that has turned me into the advocate that I am today. So, you know, we are all with you right now. Thank you. Okay. Advocacy. I'm here to talk about what we are doing on a state advocacy level here in Massachusetts right now. And, you know, this is a time where we as a collective are showing our power to our state leaders, and that is really exciting. Just this week, Mira was proud to convene Immigrants Day at the State House, which Dr. Gabo mentioned earlier. And in past years, we have been thrilled at having 600, 700 people show up for Immigrants Day and making our voices heard. This year, we had more than 1,200 people there. So many of you, your colleagues, your organizations that you're affiliated with, we showed up and we made our voices heard, and it matters so much right now. Our state leaders are hearing us, they are responding, and it is a time where we can continue to push and get real action on so many of the things that we're asking for. So I feel like it is a time that we need to step into that power and know that we can have an impact, especially here at the state level in Massachusetts. So what are we fighting for right now? You know, I want to just take a moment for anyone who doesn't know Mira to say that we are an organization that is a membership coalition, and that is part of our identity as an organization. organizations like IFSI and so many organizations in this room are members of MIRA, and we take our direction on what we should advocate for from our membership. And so the things that our membership last voted on for us to focus on, there are two big priorities that we've been pushing now this past year and a half, and those are state funding for immigration legal services, which we all know is a huge and never met need. And we've been fighting for our state leaders to do everything they can to not support and further any of ICE's activities, right? So those are our two big goals that we are moving toward. And I'm proud to say we are making progress. So on the immigration legal services, we started that campaign the beginning of last year, and we secured last year $5 million in state funding for the program Macy that Ronnie Miller spoke about a few minutes ago. So we did that together. We made that $5 million happen. And this year, we're back at the State House, and we're asking for 15, y'all. So we want $15 million for immigration legal services, because that is what our communities deserve. That is, still not enough, but it better meets the needs that are out there. MIRA has been operating the Macy program with 15 amazing partners, including IFSI. Shout out to you all for your participation. But we need even more funds to meet the needs. We know that so many people in our communities are being arrested right now, they're being detained, and this program is giving a free attorney to low-income folks who are either in detention or not in detention, but who are facing an immigration judge and going to court in a removal proceeding. And those are hard, complex cases. It takes time. Our attorneys are fantastic, but they can only take so many cases at once. So we need more funding. So we're advocating for that. We have a lot of great champions at the State House. And so we're hopeful that we can get that funding. Maybe not the full 15, but we're hoping for an increase in our funding for this coming year. So that's a huge area. The other big topic, of course, is how much are our state and local police helping ICE? What can we do to stop them, to make it more difficult for them to carry out their arrests? And so we've been advocating for a lot of different things, and a lot of this work is being done through the Protecting Massachusetts Communities Coalition. I want to give a shout out that several folks are in the room who are part of that. My co-chair, Lenita Reason from Brazilian Workers Center. I know that Cindy from JALSA is here, and several other folks in the back. She's hiding. And several other folks who've been leading this work. But it takes all of us. It takes all of us speaking up and advocating. And so some of the things that Protecting Massachusetts Communities Coalition has been asking for include, we want to see the end of 287G agreements, right? Our state and local police should not be deputized to carry out ICE's activities. We are grateful, Ronnie mentioned that the governor did an order over what she can control around 287G agreements, but we're asking for a complete ban through the State House as well. We also have been asking for an end to all police questioning around immigration status. It's not the police's business. It doesn't matter for them to carry out public safety what someone's immigration status is, and so we've been advocating on that. And we've been advocating to get ICE out of our courthouses. Right now, people go to court and ICE is there. They're arresting people. That needs to stop. We have the power at the state level to stop that. And so many of these things that we've been asking for are actually now in what's called the PROTECT Act. It's a bill that was created very thoughtfully by the Black and Latino Caucus at the State House. And they did this by really listening to communities, listening to affected people, consulting with our organizations. And there's a lot of really great things in this bill. And we're really excited because just yesterday, Lenita and I and a few others were at the State House where the House Speaker actually said that they are committed to bringing this to a vote within the next few weeks. And that is because the work of so many folks
in raising our voices, making ourselves heard, that our state leaders realize that they have to take action on immigration now. So this is our moment in these next few weeks to keep that pressure up. We need to bring the pressure to the Senate side as well. They need to equally act. And we need to get a bill finished and to the governor's desk for signature, because there's so much that we can do at the state level to cut down how we are helping ICE carry out the activities that we all want to see stopped here in this room. So thank you all. We're really excited about the progress, and there's more work to do.
Thank you, Liz. More work to do, right? But this is our moment. Can we say that? This is our moment. Moment for us to fight, moment for us to shine our light. Because again, when it is so dark out there, when we cannot see, anything around us, guess what? A tiny little light does make a huge difference. So this is our moment to make sure that we are pushing the darkness with our light. So quickly, we are moving fast. We have Frank from the Mass Immigrant Collaborative, a coalition of 15 partners working all across the state, who is going to quickly give us an update on, emergency assistance and so on and so forth. And right after, we're going to have Dr. Simon from the Boston Public Health Commission to share a few things with us.
Great, thank you, Dr. Gabot. So, Patricia and Dr. Gabot promised an interactive session. So everyone stand up. Everyone. First, I want you to put your hands together for Liz Sweet and the Mayor Coalition. This is, think about this. They did last Friday, they did the immigration conference at BU, and then they did the Immigration Day. I saw Maroney today, and I'm like, how the hell are you here? So thank you. So this is what I want you to do, and this is, I want you to pick a partner, choose one person. Just choose a person, anyone. Pick a partner. I want you to hold the hands, both hands of that partner. Now, I want you to propose. No, only kidding. Yeah, get on your knee and no. Get a good ring. It better be a good ring. So I want you to say, I see you. And now I want you to say, I am you, and you are me. So this is exactly the spirit that I feel this conference brings. That we see each other, we're not anonymous. And this is really, I would say, I want everyone to sit down. You can sit down now, except for the founders of the Massachusetts Immigrant Collaborative. I want Patricia, Dr. Gabot, Lenita, Larry, stand up, Ronnie, where's Ronnie? So for folks, so as you know, it started in 2020, the collaborative. We were dealing with an existential threat, a biological threat, and I was a history teacher, and this is interesting. In civilizations and societies, there are two choices when we're hit with a threat. One choice I call contraction. That means we collapse into our tribe. It's about me, it's about my people. In history, when we make that decision consistently, we become extinct. This conference, I love charting the course. This conference is about expansion. Beyond our tribe, beyond, and when we see each other, even if we don't understand each other, and this is a quick thing before I go into emergency assistance, I want to share a story. I want to share. Oh, first of all, I hated seeing myself on film. I loved the film was perfect. I totally get when actors say they don't like to see themselves. Like, now I get it. I totally get it. So, Miles Davis. You folks know Miles Davis, jazz musician? He had, there was a great experience. Herbie Hancock, his jazz pianist, he said, "Hey, what was it like to play with Miles Davis?" And Herbie Hancock said that one night they were just grooving. They were in the set, they were just in it, they were in flow. And Herbie Hancock, he said that he accidentally, he just hit, I know, he just mind froze, and he hit a very low chord. And he thought, oh, S-H-I-T, I ruined the set. Miles Davis paused and took that low note and created something so miraculous that Herbie Hancock was stunned. And Herbie Hancock said what Miles taught him was that he didn't judge the low note. He allowed the low note just to be. And I was thinking for this conference, as you listen to people and stuff, is just pause. Because we're so quick to judge each other. We're so quick to judge an idea. And what you do with Miles is you build on another person's idea rather than saying, oh, that's a crappy idea. Build on it. And that was really what MIC was about. 2020, when we hit that existential crisis, I think the city of Boston chose expansion rather than contraction. It was humility. They said, we're going to go to the agencies that work most close with immigrant communities, and we're going to allow them to be the mechanism to get financial assistance out. So if you remember at that time, only US citizens were eligible for those COVID payments. So that's why it was so, like I walk with giants. I feel like Odysseus. Like I walk with giants. I mean, I know if there's a female Achilles, here it is, Dr. Gabon. But as far as the emergency assistance front, I'm seeing two dangers. The first danger is when resources are low, there is a tendency for choice one, tribalism. We're seeing that politically. Thank God in Massachusetts, we have a vision of the governor, Ronnie, of expansion. They're trying to engage. But in the nonprofit community, let's be honest with ourselves, we are seeing contraction. And the danger is we're not going to work with each other. I think I forgot her name, she was one of the lawyers who said that she thought one of the big mistakes was that we were recreating the wheel. Yes. And so the vision of the founding of MIC was this idea that everyone has a piece of the answer, or to use the Miles Davis analogy, you have an essential note that you have to play. And playing that essential note requires you listening deeply to the people in your agencies on a personal level, and I just think I'm just so used to being in places where we're judged. We're judged by the color of our skin, by our accents. And so if you can be just the solidarity with folks, you can be Miles Davis. You can hear a note, and you can make something amazingly beautiful. Last thing I want to say about the work of MIC is that I'm going to share I'm going to shout out to the Mabel. And Mabel folks can stand up. really quick. They're one of our legal partners. Come on, stand up, Mabel, folks. This is a quick example of how MIC works. So their founder and executive director, Jill Sieber, called me on my cell phone and said about a family that was about a young man that was detained. He had a pretty large family. And so Mabel was providing the representation for his detention. But that family was in danger of losing their housing, of really losing everything. So she relied on MIC to provide the emergency assistance while Mabel did the legal assistance. That kind of coordination is what MIC does, and we have to do. This is, when I say collaboration, that this is not a, not doing this is not a choice. Like, we're talking about extinction as a species if we don't do this. So I'm going to be quiet now. First of all, I'd like to thank the Academy for the, you know I hadn't ended, but thank you, folks.
Thank you, Frank. So if you know Frank, wherever Frank is, he's always talking about a special character in a movie that he has watched when he was like 5 years old. So he loves doing those things. So thank you, Frank. And just to piggyback on Frank said in terms of when we talk about the power of our collective effort, guess what? When we heard about, Emmanuel Damas, all the way in Arizona, so quickly we do, right? Texting everyone and said, we have a case, we need help. So I texted ORI, the entire team, Ronnie, Suzanne, Christina, and so on and so forth. And guess what? Suzanne find out that Mabel Executive Director Jill Sieber happened to be in Arizona at that time, right? And then all of a sudden, Suzanne said, let's reach out to Jill because Jill is in Texas and Arizona, in this area. So quickly, I called Jill and I said, Jill, we need your help because they were trying to do the autopsy on the body and then no one wanted to do the autopsy. They give all of the reason in the world. But again, whilst Jill, who lives here in Massachusetts, happened to be in Arizona, was making all of the connections for us because she was there. And then before we know it, we had conversation exactly in terms of how to help the families and so on and so forth. So it's just to tell you, when we talk about the power of us, this is something important because we are not limited by any geographic space. Wherever we are, right, we can make a difference. So again, Jill, you are not here, but your entire team is here. Please let Jill know how we appreciate the time that she put in terms of connecting the families with all of the resources there. So again, don't forget, we put the link for the fundraiser for the families because again, we want to make sure by next week they can do all of the due diligence that they need to do. And then right now we're going to bring, before I bring you, Dr. Simon, one thing that I heard, I think 2 weeks ago, Jennifer, we were in a conversation. So, and I don't want to steal any of your, hopefully I'm not stealing, right? So we, since the early 80s, right? So we are in the public health sector. So we've been talking about the social determinant of health, right? So we all heard, one way or another, you heard about this social determinant of health. And so we've been working about, if you're going to treat someone, as a medical provider, you cannot just think about, whatever disease or whatever illness, whatever that is going on. You need to be thinking about everything that is going around that person, right? For you to be able to really support that person. And then 2 weeks ago, I don't know who we were in conversation with, and they came with a new term. What was the term, Jennifer?
The political determinants of health.
Did you hear that? The political determinant of health. So we always, guess what, and that's what, we need to be careful, we need to pay attention. So we always talk about social determinant of health, all right? But when we were talking about, I remember when I was at BU, I don't think that we ever touch on that political component. But here we are, in this day and age, when we cannot ignore the impact of the political environment on people's health. And one of the things that I believe, and that I've been telling both the mayor, the governor, and everyone who wants to hear me, is that while we're talking about detention, while we're talking about all of the policies, legal help and so on and so forth, there is a huge hidden danger that if we are not careful enough, that we're going to miss. And you know what it is? Talking about the political determinant of health is our mental health of our families. Yes, when people are going through so much every day, before you know it, we have trauma, we have all of the stressors, we have so much going on that is going to have a huge impact on families. That's the reason why I applaud all of my mental health, team who are in this table who have been working. So great job, because you are paying attention to that. So that's how I'm inviting Dr. Simon from the Boston Public Health Commission to join us and hopefully to share some of the work around this area. Thank you.
So I suspect, like every other speaker, you recognize it's very difficult to kind of speak behind Dr. Gabo. She's a great hype woman. You have a lot of energy. And it's amazing to be around, particularly in a time like this. And we talked about seeing light despite the darkness. And Dr. Gabo is almost like just an effervescent light all the time. So just thank you. So I'm Dr. Simon, or Dr. Simon is the correct pronunciation. And I'm the city's chief behavioral health officer, and happen to also be an adult psychiatrist, a child psychiatrist, an addiction medicine physician, seeing patients at Boston Children's Hospital. And I see many people that I recognize, and so if while I'm speaking, I pause to give someone like, oh, hey, I see you. It's just me acknowledging the folks that are here. And then in reference to the term that was just used, political determinants of health. So interesting enough, one of my mentors is the person that coined that phrase. His name is Daniel Dawes. Daniel Dawes. He is a lawyer, and he's at Meharry Medical College. But he was at Morehouse School of Medicine when he published a book, 150 Years to Obamacare, and then his second book was The Political Determinants of Health. So just providing additional context for the information that's being shared. So supposedly, I have a slide advancer that's supposed to work. I've pressed on, and I'm telling you so that way in the event I look confused because it's not working. Oh, awesome. Awesome. So thank you. So what we're gonna do, and I also recognize Jennifer very early said, this is gonna be engaging. And so thank you to the gentleman that had me propose to my colleague. Yeah. I don't know if my wife would like that, but I saw him, he saw me. No. So what we're gonna do in our time here, I don't want to lecture at you, and I am going to ask you to be engaged and answer some questions. I'm going to tell you about myself in part. I know, like, I'm in front of you, and Dr. Gabo, with her energy, has said, Dr. Simon, come. You should know who I am, and so I'm going to share about myself, and that typically starts with Haiti, in part. Yes, Haiti! In part, before I'm who I am, there were some other people, my parents, who originated from Haiti. And so my mom is from Gonaïve. Anybody from Gonaïve? And I see you over there. I'm just too tired to just run all the way. And my father is from Bassemblé, and so near Porapé. And so they didn't know each other at the time, but their families, much like the family here, made a decision to send their kids, and so both my parents are the oldest of their siblings, to America, specifically to Brooklyn, New York. And this was in 1967, 1968. And you got to think about what was happening at the time in our country then. And so you have assassinations of certain people. And there was no internet. There was no Instagram. There's no TikTok. So I sometimes struggle to understand, how did you come to this idea that you're going to send your kids to this foreign land, speak no English, and somehow it's better than what you are presently with? And so the idea of America is great. The literal idea of it, what we're supposed to be, this idea of diversity, this idea that you can come from Gonaïve, from Bassemblé, from anywhere, come to this particular space, learn, get educated, étudier, as my grandmother would tell me all the time, and become something. So for everyone who's here, who has a diaspora heritage or immigrant story, it really is a beautiful story. So my parents made it to Brooklyn, and now you're going to see photos of me and my family. And I'm sharing it with you because we are family. We've proposed to each other. And so that's me. Let me get my sisters out the way. That's me with my parents in front of the home that they still live in East Flatbush. Before me, they did have two other people. So to my right is Michelle, and to my left is Natasha. They're also in healthcare, and we always take photos in the same orientation. Michelle to my right, Natasha to my left. And Michelle's a nurse practitioner. She, for a very long time, did labor and delivery. And then Natasha is a nurse anesthetist, meaning someone says she makes money. I should call my sister right now and ask for some money. And she is in Atlanta. Michelle's in New Jersey. My father is, so I'll say it both ways, but first for the Haitians, Jacques Mauclair Simon. Now for the Americans, Deacon Mauclair Simon. So my father was the third African-American deacon in the state of New York in its history. And the educator, he was a public school teacher in New York City public schools for 25 plus years. And again, the educator, even after retiring from that, he went back to school. He got a master's in social work. So I appreciate social workers that are here. And he currently leads grief counseling services for Catholic charities in the city. Then There's my mom, Lydie Simon. Now, I'm going to ask a question here. Everyone has a cell phone, yes? Yes. Who has Verizon? If you do, could you raise your hand? Thank you very much for allowing our family to never have a phone bill, because my mom has worked for Verizon for over 58 years. So for those who are unfamiliar, Verizon wasn't always called Verizon. It was 9X, Bell Atlantic, Bell South. These are all the names that I remember because my mom's been working there for a very long time. So, and you know, for those who are partnered up, sometimes your partner inquires about why you still do certain things. And my wife, like, why are you still on your family plan? And I just say, Brittany, don't get into family business. So yes, I still am on my family plan. So this is my wife, Dr. Halford. She's an internist at Beth Israel Deaconess. So in the event you are hospitalized, you might engage her. She particularly works at the Milton site and then also the main campus on Longwood. She says hello. We have 2 kids, Brooke, who's 7, thinks she's 17, and then KJ, or Kevin Jr., he'll be 5 in May. And so this is my family, now your family, and we are all family. Now, earlier, the twins, and I was confused. I was like, am I seeing the same person? But the twins, I only knew in part because one has a blue tie, one has a yellow tie. The twins talked about education, and I have to share a little bit of education in reference to how did I get to this point. And so I went to a HBCU. You see, hey, it's not working. There we go. All right, so I went to an HBCU, Morgan State University, that's in Baltimore. Anybody familiar with HBCUs? Awesome. So those who aren't, historically black college and university. So classically, over 95% of the students that are there look like many of the people that are in here. Then I moved to the Midwest to go to medical school, and I did some research at Wisconsin, University of Pittsburgh, all in regards to, well, the research was mental health. I did my adult psychiatry residency at Grady Hospital. Grady is in Atlanta, and Grady is, for those of us who are here, Grady would be the BMC of the South, okay? It's the 5th largest hospital in the country, and so there's a lot of patients that have Medicaid, or what would be mass health here. And you learn very quickly about culture, and you learn very quickly how to be culturally humble. In part, you might think you have an answer. The patient often has the answer. You just have to help them kind of find it. I then came up here to do my child psychiatry fellowship at Boston Children's Hospital. And on the back end of that, I did an addiction medicine fellowship also at Boston Children's. And I do research always on the prevention of substance use, the prevention of mental health challenges, and then how to have greater equity in terms of access, because many people are aware somebody might have a challenge that relates to their mental health, and yet, for many reasons, there's a disconnect in getting help for the actual mental health challenge. Some of that is stigma. You could only imagine me telling my family I'm going to be a psychiatrist. Their response, I'll say it in both Creole and English. Ou besoin travailler avec moun fou? Right? But you want to work with crazy people? Only to realize when you then are in the field, how many of the phone calls and text messages you get from the same people who are suggesting, why would you do this? Then now asking for your help. So everyone, I'll ask the question. Who in here has known of someone, you don't have to say if it's for yourself, but who has known of somebody who has experienced what others might call a mental health challenge or crisis? If you have, could you raise your hand? Everybody essentially has their hand up. Thank you. And I often ask that question because everybody is experiencing it, and yet somehow people want to pretend as though it doesn't exist. But everybody experiences it. And even for those who are very attuned to the services and how to navigate, it still can be rather challenging. And it's not uncommon that I will engage with a family and they know that something's quote unquote wrong, and yet because of the political determinants and the social determinants, and let's just say I'm talking about a 10-year-old, I have to also be conscientious of, well, when you say that, I'll make his name Kyle. Kyle is having trouble at school. I have to be cognizant and say, wait a minute, well, what does Kyle's school look like? And what does his teachers look like? Right? Because not all problems are problems, and not all negative behavior is negative behavior. I've seen kids do the same exact behavior, but depending on what they look like, there can be a consequence towards DYS or a consequence towards getting care. So for all the providers that are here, you have to wrestle with that and help the family be able to navigate that. And I very much thank the legal aid colleagues that I have, because oftentimes it's, wait a minute. There's a lot of other political things that are happening that we have to be conscientious of. And interesting enough, certain people very much know how to leverage using services. And they'll say, hey, Dr. Sam, I need a letter for accommodation. And if you ask me, I have somewhat of an obligation to heed to your request. And yet, there are people that I have to then encourage, hey, it'd be probably very advantageous if you had a letter. Like, well, no, I don't want it on the record. I'm like, no. Actually, you do, because this will get you some help. So, like many a Haitian man, I can go on tangents. So I'm going to go back to what I'm supposed to. And just acknowledge that I do research, I do consult to many of the behavioral health agencies that are in our city, and consult to Department of Justice Healthcare Fraud Division and others. So a couple of years ago, I met Mayor Wu, and she had a question. Can you help Boston? Now, what do you think I asked her back? Somebody said, with what? Come on, folks, y'all are alive. That's a very poignant question. Well, no, I said, do I have to like the Red Sox? I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I don't like the Red Sox. No, she was asking me a question in reference to my thoughts about the state of mental health. And so I'd love for you to be able to share with me and really share with each other, what do we think the current state of mental health is? You can throw out any adjectives you want. Someone said, man, someone dropping bombs in here. Post-traumatic slave syndrome. Thank you, sir. Other adjectives? Traumatized, stigmatized, underinvested, trauma, someone said. Inaccessible, anxiety, okay. Fear, ignorance, right? So it's kind of like this, right? Things are not going well, yet somehow we're okay with it not going well. And which I did, I asked you, how would you describe mental health? And there are technically positive words you could have said. You opted to say fear, underinvested, etc. So if I now said, well, what are the state of mental health for youth of color? Right? You have to somehow create worse adjectives, right? So because we are with Dr. Goubeau, and she is a light, and I don't want to bring you down, we're not going to talk about what, usually I might in a formal presentation, but I am going to talk about what we're doing at the city level. And so through community engagements, community health needs assessment, we recognize that mental health tended to be in the top 3 things that people are concerned about, and within mental health, youth mental health tended to be the top thing that parents, teachers, community staff folks would often bring up. And so you all, really, community identified these 3 pillars as things that we needed to do something about. So increase the diversity of who's providing the mental health service. Somehow ensure that what is available is actually accessible. In part, you could have something that exists, but if no one knows, it is of no use. And then can we have things that are pro-social for young people to do? So a few years ago, we released $21 million in reference to student behavioral health, not all in one place, but divided up into many different RFPs. And some examples of the RFPs that we had put out included these 4: workforce expansion for partnership with UMass Boston, a public awareness campaign. And so if you Google Heads Up Boston, that's the slogan. Trauma-informed school system transformation currently being done by Flourish Agenda in 10 of our BPS schools. And then this enhancing capacity to support youth mental health is HRI, or Health Resource in Action, training many community organizations in cohorts of 2 staff folks from nonprofits will get trained on mental health, so that way they're a champion. In part, you might have an organization, potentially like IFSI, or let's say ROCA, or let's say Beats by Boston, where young people are regularly engaging with the nonprofit and regularly engaging with the staff, but the staff, because they're comfortable and trustworthy, the young people might tell them things that technically is a mental health concern, yet the staff person is not equipped to know, how do I navigate this? And so the training, and we've had 4 cohorts so far, so we've trained about 40 people. And then on the UMass Boston, or the first one, we've helped support 191 students so far who are Boston residents, who've then helped more than 400 students so far. So there are ways to actually not reinvent the wheel, the public awareness, and you're going to see more of this. So we put the first mental health report of the city out. We're going to have a Black men's health report that comes out. And these are important because they help inform the work that it is that you do. So this is one of our public awareness efforts. And talking about community violence, and one might think, he's a psychiatrist, why is he talking about community violence? Well, the truth is, unfortunately, there were a number of young people implicated in having firearms, and so the mayor decided to have a youth safety task force that still regularly meets Thursdays and Fridays. I'm actually missing the meeting today to be here, where we help think about the young people that traverse many of our systems. And it's interesting, in reference to this idea of mental health services, because there will be young people who they're in BPS. Somebody somewhere has potentially filed a 51A, and so there's DCF involvement. Perhaps they've done something on the train line, and so now MBTA or BPD is involved. And then maybe they also have children's services, Roxbury services. They actually will have many different levels of services involved, yet none of them communicate with each other. And so this idea of silos. And so we're trying to figure out how to better communicate through the silos. And so myself and Isaac Yablo, who you undoubtedly have heard of, have been working on this effort. And so it's why you might hear about Boston's a quote-unquote safe city. In part, we've had a reduction in the number of young people that are engaged in firearm activities. And so we have had lower numbers of homicides, which do have, yes, negative mental health implications. In part, both the quote-unquote perpetrator, who might have been young, their family's devastated. And then whoever's been harmed, their family's devastated. And how is it that we help support both sides? Because the reality is, they're telling me to speed up. He's doing the rolling man. Yes, I will speed up. My apologies. So, I know. So we have these summer activities, and so I'm going to go through. In part, there are summer activation grants that we'll have that many nonprofits that exist here probably should be applying for. And so it will be how we have continued to keep Boston a safe place. It's not done by ourselves, right? We have even places like Chez Vous where we have people go and we support. So what I'm going to do is, and then we engage with young people, Boston Reads. Many people across our city are trying to help keep this a safer place so that way our actual mental health is improved. I'm moving fast in part because I'm not supposed to talk so long, but I will end here. So this is my dad, Deacon Mauclair Simon, and he wrote me this letter when I got into this role, and I could have just put this letter as the only slide, but it encapsulates what we should be doing with each other. So I'll read it. Baby K, I'll try to embody him. Baby K, peace be unto you and your household. As I reflect on your accomplishments for the past few years, I want to tell you how proud I am of you. Since you are in a new position, I beg you to always be nice to people you come in contact with. Be considerate. Do your work with transparency and keep your integrity until you go down to your grave. I have seen people losing all they worked for stupid things they do at their work. Love your children and your wife as you love yourself, and the Lord, who knows the heart of all, will reward you. So, in our symposium today, hopefully you're kind and considerate to your colleagues that are here, And we will remain to be positively engaged throughout the day. And I'm going to stop because I've run over my time. And I'm Dr. Simon, but literally, you just saw people, yes, in my family, still, to this day, call me Baby K. Thank you.
Thank you, Baby K. So you are in trouble wherever you are. You're going to hear that. So again, we wanted to bring this component in this morning session just so that you understand. So when we're talking about the whole person, right? We're talking about so many different components, so many different layers that we need to address. And that's the reason why wherever we are, in whatever field that we find ourselves, we need to do it and to do it well, because every single aspect matters. And again, my mental health network team, has been working all year long, and I know that they're going to be meeting in their breakout room, and then they will come back to share a report with us. So it's like basically from last year's symposium, they have decided that we cannot just stop the conversation there. We continue with those conversations, and they have done a lot of wonderful work because of they are coming together. So again, whatever that we're going to do today, whatever that we are learning, that we are hearing today, we don't want it to be just today. We want it to be a continued conversation, because next year when we come again, we want to know exactly what we have done, where are we, and where are we heading. Because in a few minutes, I'm going to do an exercise with you, especially those of you who were here with us last year, to see exactly what you remember from what we discussed last year. So we've been talking a lot about ICE, and we have a wonderful, wonderful team and organization that has been doing a lot of reporting on, ICE. And at this point, we have a nice report from the Lee Zelman Center, and we have Jessica Santos, who is coming to show you what they've been working on. You see, everyone is working on something, and all of those things are so important. So let's welcome Jessica Santos.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gabo. It's nice to see everyone here. I'm going to do the 5-minute version of this presentation for you all, because I'm actually excited to get to the conversations. I did not come last year, and I regretted it all year. I heard about this event all year, and I was like, oh my gosh. So it's wonderful to be here. I'm Jess Santos. I'm the director of the Leah Zalman Center for Immigrant Health Research. We focus on applied action research for social change. We prioritize immigrant health and well-being, and right now, immigrant justice. So much of our work is about uplifting policies and strategies and knowledge, subjugated knowledge from within immigrant communities, bringing voices and stories in from the margins to the center. And most of my career, I've looked at, okay, how can we move forward a positive social change mindset? I'm here today with a very different role in documenting darkness. We had a moment last year with all of our partners, many of you, in the spring when we saw the patterns of what was happening. We heard stories or experienced stories, the harm, the trauma, everything that has been talked about today. And the Office of Refugees and Immigrants called us and said, can you do something? And we said, okay, we'll try. And so we did. We documented the actions and strategies of ICE in Massachusetts in 2025. And then we talk about the impacts on our families, communities, and institutions in a way that is systematic. We collected 100 stories with all of your help. I'm not going to go through the findings in detail today, because so much of what is in here has already been said this morning, already been shared. Thank you so much for sharing your story. For each of your story, there are hundreds more, of course. And between January and October of 2025, ICE detained over 5,000 people in Massachusetts, and that was the time frame when we were collecting the stories. And so what we found was basically, ICE is challenging and testing the rule of law, as has been said today already. Many people being picked up without any regard for criminal status or legal background, going along in their daily lives. We are seeing communities who are facing fewer, so it's not just the families, right? We see psychological and financial harm in families. We see health impacts, direct and psychological. And then we see institutional level impacts as well in Massachusetts, and that's what we wanted to highlight. We wanted to say, okay, this is not okay. Nothing about this is okay. And from an ethical perspective, but if you, for some reason, don't want to talk about ethics or don't have a heart, then let's look at the institutional and community level impacts, and this is impacting everyone in our state. So in the first Trump administration, we talked, or everyone sort of heard about and talked about the chilling effect of policy. And that was when people were really afraid to go access benefits that they were eligible for. So we're talking about SNAP, food stamps, and Medicaid, and other benefits that people should have access to, but chose not to, understandably, because of fear. They didn't want to share data. They didn't want to share anything. They didn't want to, be a part of this harmful institutions, right? So that was the first Trump administration. After sifting through all of these stories, categorizing them, thinking about how to talk about them or make sense of a senseless time, what we decided to say is that we are iced in Massachusetts. Iced in is that moment in the winter when lakes freeze to the point where the cities and towns start saying, okay, it's safe to go out on the ice and you can now go ice fishing. But underneath the currents, there are so many things affecting the ice. There's always movement underneath. There's the weather patterns, the wind, the temperatures that can really shift and thaw. So we do see this as a moment of maybe the bottom of the barrel, hopefully. I hope that it is, and I hope it goes up from here, because if we're doing the Miles Davis, thank you, Frank, for that metaphor, if this is our low note, and it's spring. It is spring today. Happy spring, everybody. It's hard to believe, but it is. So we're thawing the ice. We are finding ways to drill holes and crack the ice and thaw it, and we have so much incredible work going on in Massachusetts, again, as has been shared this morning. I'm really proud to live in this state and grateful that so many immigrants who live here are not living in other states. But one thing we found when we did this study is people said, is it really happening here? Wait, we're not Minnesota. We're not LA. We're not Chicago or Maine or And then we said, okay, yes, it is. I know I'm speaking to the choir here. But we do feel that it's a really incredible tool and a necessary purpose to really stay eyes wide open to what we're all experiencing and witnessing. So today we just offer this report as a tool for all of you as advocates, as policymakers. We have the QR code up there. It's called Iced In. And the point is, as has been made already, we can work together. We can do this. We can thaw the ice. We can work together to say, as we chart our path forward today, we can say ice out. Thank you.
Oh, let's say it together, ice out. Let's say it together, ice. But I cannot hear you. Ice, ice, ice. Exactly, we want them to be out because we realize when they are in, the only thing that we see is danger. So yes, we want them to be out. Thank you so much, Jessica. Great job, because we need that research component, okay, to help us understand our work. So we want to apologize because, again, we are running behind in schedule. However, we know the time that you want to spend together is so critical. We're not going to reduce the time. What we're going to do is to really give you it's almost like a lunch, you know, what you can have your lunch during the breakout. And our team will be able to help you come and get your lunch while you are still talking, because again, those conversations are so critical. We don't want you to miss on the time that you have. So we are now going to try to get you ready to go to your breakout room. And I know that so many of you already know where you need to be, and I think Eric will tell us exactly where people are going, or Jennifer has that. But before I send you out, because remember, we don't do this work just for the sake of doing it, right? We do it because we have a reason to do so, okay? So I'm going to test you, you know, as a good teacher, right? You always test your student, right? You are not my student, but we are, you know, on this together. So last year, we brought two big concepts that we wanted all of you to go and wrestle with those concepts. So I am not going to take this table because I know that they kind of know already. So I'm going to be in the middle. So what was one big item that we discussed last year that we needed to be very, very aware of, mindful of, so that we don't stay where we are? What was that? Let me see if people remember. What did we talk about last year? In terms of, you know, where we are, where we're going, what's going on. What did we talk about? Forward thinking, but we use words. What was the word that we used? Yeah, charting the path forward, you know, that's the title. We know, everyone knows that, right? It was something about the future. What did we talk about the future? Oh my mind. You have to take the class again then. All right. So last year, we talked about three different futures. So, okay, but in this case, you could have put my slide, but okay, we're going to move fast. So last year, we talked about three different futures that we as leaders, we as committee members need to be aware of. The first one that we discussed was about the expected future. So, how many of you remember that? You do? Okay. So, we talked about expected future. And what did we say about expected future? We said, if nothing else is done, if we don't do anything, okay, what exactly should we expect? Right? Because again, in our world, so if you only raise $10, right? And then you have two families that you serve, and that's all you have, $10 to family, you don't do anything, what's going to happen? You're going to continue to serve two families with $10, right? Because that's all you have. However, you could decide that, you know what? 2 families is not enough. I can do better. I can get 5. I can get 10 families. Which means instead of $10, I need 20, I need 30, I need 40. So we call that future the preferred future. All right? So all of us in our field of work, we need to be mindful of this concept. The reason why people like us, so we call ourselves futurists. So we are always thinking about what's coming our way 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road. But for us to even come up to what's coming to understand, we need to know what's going on right now. And we need to understand what is keeping us the way that we are now. So once we understand that, we can say, okay, I'm happy with what is going on right now. Nothing needs to be done. I don't need to change anything. Or we can say, no, I am not happy, and I need to do something. And that's where you're moving from the expected future to the preferred future. Do you get it? Yeah. So the reason why, because when you are going to your breakout room, we need you to go with this concept. Where am I now? Where is my sector is right now? Where is mental health is? Where is workforce development? Where is legal services? Where is social services? Where is faith-based? Whatever, education, where are we now? And when you said where are we now, the question is how happy are we with where we are? If you are happy, no need to do anything. You're good, you stay like this, no need to do anything. But if you're not happy, you need to do something about it. And from what I observe, you see, I mean, again, I'm glad that people started to answer those questions. 2 minutes, quickly. So looking at the current landscape, what would you say is our expected future? Just looking at the current landscape, okay? Do not bring anything new in terms of what's going on now, quickly. All right, so Jennifer, that's your job to read for me what's going on the, let's go, let's do a few more.
Okay, so we have our first couple of folks. Liberation, okay, I love that. I see starting to think we may be able to repair the damages done by this administration. A tumultuous fight in solidarity and unity. Organized, collaborative, and reverent. A future filled with strength, hope, and purpose. We have leaders that lead with compassion and kindness.
Okay.
We have something has to be done. Together we can.
Okay, all right, let's stop here because I'm going to now get to you directly. Thinking about the administration, thinking about this administration in terms of what they're doing, what do you think when they first started? Okay, think about when they first started with boots on the ground, aggressivity, just name it. What do you think they expected of us as community? Let's go in the middle. What did you think that they expect? Just shout loud. What did they expect of us? Silence, acceptance, run, exhaustion. What did they expect of us? Scare, fear. What did they expect of us?
Dissension.
Dissension. What did they expect of us? Stay home. Exactly. Disorganization, right? So when they first started this, they truly believe that because they have the money on their side and they have the power, when I said the political power on their side, the expectation was, oh no, as soon as we get them on the street and we see what happened in Minneapolis, where this guy spoke to a lady and he said, you still don't understand what's going on? You're still showing up in the street despite everything? Don't you understand what we are about to do? Because their expectation is that we will be so scared that we will stay under our bed, as people were telling me at the beginning of the crisis. So many families tell me, oh yeah, we don't even want to get out. We have to hide because we don't want them to see us if they come to our doors. That's how bad it was. So their expected future was that we're going to do everything in our power to discourage them, to put them so that they can hide, so that they don't get out. But guess what? What we saw, okay, in the street, what we saw everywhere in our community said something different. And that's the reason why, again, if we were to say, what would our preferred future be? Quickly, let's add some. Eyes out, yes, thank you. Eyes out, eyes out. Say it again. CPS stays in place, like people are protected. Families remain, with their legal status. Eyes out, no eyes detention. We continue to fight, right? We are empowered in our fight. And that's what we need to say to ourselves. Because we are not happy with the state of things the way that they are, what exactly do we want for ourselves? What do we want for our communities? What do we want for our sector? What do we want for our families? And when Brian was talking, Brian and Liz, when they were saying that, okay, now they don't even want to mention immigration, yeah. It's not because that they don't want to mention that. It's because they see what exactly it means when people come together and then say, enough is enough. No, we are not going to buy that from you. We need to change that. And they don't have any choice. They have to step back. And that's the reason why I want you to understand, guys, that we have power. We have power. And when we come together, when we march in the street, when we sing together, when we hold hands together, when we hold the side even when it's cold, we are telling them that no, this cannot be our new normal. Something needs to change. And this is what I want to do. And as you are going through, again, your breakout room, the next question is, what are we going to do to really get to that preferred future? Okay, because it's one thing for us to start. Remember, when things are in the news, everyone is talking about it. But when it's not on the news, it feels that things are back to normal, when in fact, no. So I mean, those things continue. So what are we going to do to make sure that people have access to mental health? That we don't let those big headlines put our people in despair. What is the mental health network? What is the coalition? All of you save soul, what are we going to do to make sure that we maintain this idea that our community needs help? Brian, Liz, all of you, what are we going to do for TPS to remain? Are we just going to talk about it? Or are we going to do something about it? We started to work about it, but are we going to stop here? Because every 18 months, we cannot go back to the same thing. The fear of, is it going to, reopen to, whatever. So we need to continue the fight. So that's the reason why when we go to the breakout session, you don't go just to talk. We go to make sure that we come back with real concrete steps of things that we need to do to make sure that whatever we work so hard for, that we can protect. Not only protect, we can make more steps toward, something better for us. So again, understand that people expect you to fail. People expect you to hide. People expect you to remain silent. That's what they want. But you have to raise your voice and say, I am not going to be silent. I am not going to remain silent. And I am going to speak up. I am going to advocate. I am going to fight. So, again, as we are now going through our breakout room sessions with all of the sectors, JVS, Catholic Charities, MIRA, just name it, Brazilian Worker Center, Agency Alpha, all of you, Bar Foundation, big on education and young people, thank you for being here. As we're going to go through those breakout sessions, I want you to go with this idea of we are not going to accept whatever that is going on now the way that it is. Something needs to do, needs to change, and we are going to do that together. So at this time, I'm going to call Miss Jennifer to give us direction for where people are going and how we're going to make that happen. And as you are going, remember the discharge petition, we have the link. Remember the support for the Damas, funeral and legal support, all of those things, they are here for you. And make sure that you scan those things on your phone so you can really continue to help. So Jennifer, where do we go?